The first time I saw her, she was standing at the edge of the observation deck, gazing out at the endless expanse of stars like they held the answers to questions no one had asked yet. Her hair shimmered under the artificial lights of the station, casting an almost iridescent glow, and her eyes were unlike anything I had ever seen. Not merely a shade of blue or green, but a living spectrum, shifting subtly as if reflecting thoughts I couldn't understand. I didn't approach her. I avoided her. I kept my distance, even when our paths crossed in the corridors of the Aurora station, orbiting the uncharted exoplanet Arcturus 9. My colleagues, aboard the research vessel for decades now, whispered about her behind her back. She's not from the Council, they said. She's something different. And they weren't wrong. Her name was Lyra, though I didn't know it at first. There was an aura of quiet command about her, a subtle authority that demanded attention without demanding anything. She was part of an alien delegation sent to observe humanity's colonization of Arcturus 9. But she was more. I sensed it the first time I caught a glimpse of her in the lab bay, her hand hovering over the plasma interface without touching it, and the device obeying her. The sensors, the screens, the machinery, everything responded as if she had simply willed it so. I should have admired her. I should have introduced myself. But I didn't. I couldn't. It wasn't fear of the unknown. It wasn't even caution. It was guilt. I tried to bury it in routine. I buried it in work. I buried it behind the cold, methodical walls I had built around myself. But Lyra had a way of finding me, no matter how hard I hid. And each time, I felt my resolve falter, though I didn't let it show. It was during the second week of her arrival when the incident happened. I was on the observation deck, logging seismic readings from the planet below, when Lyra appeared silently at the entrance. She didn't startle me the way most people would. Her presence was unavoidable. "You're avoiding me," she said, her voice calm, almost musical. I swallowed hard, refusing to turn around. "I'm busy." She tilted her head, a faint frown forming. "Busy avoiding me?" I clenched my jaw. "It's not that simple." "It never is," she replied, stepping closer. I could feel the subtle pull in the air, like the station itself acknowledged her proximity. "I don't understand why. I've done nothing to you. Nothing at all." Her words pierced me, though I tried to resist the pang of emotion they caused. How could I explain? How could I tell her that the truth was far stranger, far darker, than she could imagine? That my avoidance wasn't born from dislike, but from the knowledge of what I had seen, what I had done, years before she even existed. I shook my head. "I can't explain." Lyra studied me for a long moment, her gaze searching, patient, unwavering. Then she stepped back, not with anger, but with understanding? Or was it suspicion? "One day you will," she said softly and left. Days passed. Weeks. My work on Arcturus 9 became a blur of data streams, plasma calibrations, and endless nights staring at the glowing screens. Yet, Lyra remained a constant shadow in my life, appearing where I least expected, observing silently, never prying, yet never truly absent. I began to notice little things, small acts of kindness or curiosity. She would leave a vial of purified water beside my station when I worked late. She'd recalibrate sensors that had drifted, leaving my log entries untouched, as if she wanted me to believe it was my own doing. And there were the moments she looked at me, really looked at me, with the faintest trace of empathy. I hated it. I hated that she made me feel exposed, that she forced me to confront memories I had buried so deep I sometimes questioned whether they were real. Because the truth was, the reason I avoided her wasn't just guilt, it was fear. Not fear of her. Fear of what she represented. I had first encountered Lyra's kind during a classified mission 10 years ago, long before humanity had even considered colonizing Arcturus 9. Our vessel, the Odyssey, had been sent to investigate an uncharted anomaly near the outer edge of the Orion sector. We discovered a station, ancient and abandoned, orbiting a black star. And within it, we found her. She was barely conscious, encased in what looked like a stasis field. Her species, the Elysians as we later learned, were beings of immense intelligence and unparalleled energy manipulation. They existed partly in our dimension, partly beyond it. Interacting with them was dangerous. Even a glance could imprint thoughts, memories, sometimes entire emotions, into a human mind. I had been the first to approach. Against protocol, against my instincts, I reached out to stabilize her stasis field. And that was when I saw it, the visions. Memories that were not mine, experiences that spanned centuries, knowledge that no human was meant to hold.
But I saw them.
I absorbed them, and I understood things I was never meant to. And in doing so, I failed. The stasis field collapsed. The containment systems failed. I was the only survivor. I had tried to report the incident, but there was no explanation, no evidence, only the gaping hole where an entire crew had been. And somewhere, somehow, she survived. I had been avoiding her ever since. Because I feared her. Because I feared myself. Because I feared the day she would remember who I was. That day came sooner than I expected. Lyra found me in the hydroponics bay, adjusting the nutrient flows for the new alien flora we were studying. She didn't announce herself. She didn't need to. I felt her presence like a pulse in the air, a resonance that made the water droplets on the leaves shimmer. "You've been avoiding me for a long time," she said. Her voice carried no accusation, only a quiet inevitability. I froze, my hands gripping the irrigation tools so tightly my knuckles turned white. "Lyra," I began, but the sound of my own voice made me hesitate. How could I tell her the truth without frightening her? Without shattering the fragile connection we had built over weeks of silent observation? "I know why," she said, tilting her head. "I feel it. The hesitation, the fear. The memories you carry, they're not just yours." I swallowed hard, finally meeting her gaze.
"You don't understand."
"You can't." "I already do," she whispered, stepping closer. "I remember everything. Or, at least enough." My chest tightened. My voice caught. 10 years ago, the Odyssey, you were in stasis. You failed," she interrupted softly.
"Yes."
"You failed. But not in the way you think. You saved me." I blinked, confusion and disbelief warring within me. "I saved you?" She nodded. "You reached out when no one else would. You bore the burden of knowledge no human was ready for. And you survived, carrying that guilt like a shield between us. I've known it all along, even before I arrived on the station. That's why you avoided me. Not fear, shame."
Shame.
The word cut deeper than any blade. I had spent a decade running from it, hiding behind walls of logic and routine, yet here she was, dismantling every barrier with a single, simple statement. I didn't know how to face you," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "I was afraid of what you'd see in me, afraid of what I'd become." Her hand hovered over mine, not touching, yet I felt it, a gentle resonance that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. "I don't care about what you became. I care about what you chose. You chose to survive. You chose to carry the truth. And now, you're choosing to face it. With me." Tears I hadn't realized were building slipped down my cheeks. "I avoided you because I didn't deserve to be near you." Lyra smiled, a small, radiant smile that seemed to illuminate the hydroponics bay more than the artificial lights ever could. You're here now. That's what matters. From that day on, things changed. The walls I had built around myself began to crumble. I no longer hid when she entered the lab, no longer flinched at her presence. We spoke, shared knowledge, and explored the station together. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, I began to see her not as an enigma, but as a partner, an equal, someone who had seen the depths of my soul and still chose to remain. She told me about the Elysians, about their history and their exile, about the reason she had been sent to observe humanity. But she also listened, truly listened, as I recounted the story of the Odyssey, of the crew, of the accident, of the guilt that had shaped the man I had become. And she did not judge. She understood. One evening, we stood on the observation deck, the endless stars of Arcturus 9 stretching before us. I glanced at her, feeling the weight of 10 years of fear and avoidance lift from my shoulders. I was afraid. I confessed, my voice trembling. Afraid of you. Afraid of myself. Afraid of what it would mean to admit the truth. She placed a hand on my shoulder, and it felt like the final barrier between us had dissolved. And now, I took a deep breath, looking out at the stars, at the possibilities, at the future. Now I'm ready. Her eyes shimmered, reflecting the cosmos.
Good, she said.
Because I never stopped waiting for you to be. And for the first time in a decade, I felt free. Free from guilt, free from fear, and free to finally be near her. Not as someone hiding in the shadows, but as someone who had faced the truth, confessed it, and survived. The stars stretched endlessly before us, a universe of possibilities. And for the first time, I knew that whatever came next, we would face it together. We stayed on the observation deck long after the station lights dimmed, the hum of the aurora fading into silence. Lyra's presence was calm and constant beside me, like gravity itself had shifted to hold us together. The stars reflected in her eyes were no longer just alien beauty. They were a promise. I want to understand more, I said softly. Not just about your people, but about you. About why you survived, why you came here, why, my voice faltered, why you waited for me. Lyra looked at me, her gaze patient and unflinching. I waited because I sensed you. You carry more than memory. You carry choice and courage, even when you think you don't. That's what makes you worthy of trust. The word struck me like a revelation. Worthy of trust. After years of hiding, of guilt, of avoiding everyone, including her, I had finally found someone who saw me. Not the mistakes, not the fear, but me. I swallowed the lump in my throat and let the truth flow freely, for the first time in a decade. I avoided you because I thought I didn't deserve connection. I thought my failure was too great. I thought that it would define you, she finished. It doesn't. It shaped you, yes, but it didn't destroy you. You're still here. You're still human. And that matters more than perfection. A silence stretched between us, not uncomfortable, but full of unspoken understanding. The stars outside shimmered, reflecting off the glass, painting the deck with cold light. And in that light, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Hope. I've spent so long running from the past, I admitted, voice low. Afraid of confronting it. Afraid of confronting you.
But now,
I want to face it all. With you. Lyra reached out, placing her hand over mine. The warmth of her touch was faint, ethereal, yet it carried a resonance that made the station itself feel alive. Then we face it together, she said simply. And we did. Over the next weeks, our work on Arcturus 9 changed. No longer isolated, no longer burdened by silence. I shared every detail of my past encounters, every hidden fear, every fragment of guilt. And Lyra shared hers, her memories, her people's exile, the reason she had been sent to observe humanity. We learned, taught, healed, and built a bridge between our worlds. Then, one night, as the twin moons of Arcturus 9 rose over the jagged horizon, we stood side by side on the edge of the observation deck, looking out at the alien landscape below. The air shimmered faintly with Lyra's energy, casting our shadows long and intertwined. I never thought that I could feel safe again, I confessed. Not after everything, but with you, I do. Lyra smiled, that iridescent glow painting her face in hues I couldn't name. Safety is a choice, she said. And now you've chosen it. Chosen me. That's all that matters. I took a step closer, letting the distance I had maintained for 10 years vanish. I choose you, I said, and the weight of the past finally lifted. She didn't answer with words. Instead, her hand found mine fully, her energy pulsing through me in a quiet, steady rhythm. It was a promise, a bridge between species, between worlds, between souls. In that moment, the vast universe outside seemed smaller, intimate, alive with possibility. The Aurora station continued its orbit, indifferent to the moment. But for the first time, I didn't care. I had stopped running. I had confessed everything. And now, at last, I could walk forward, not alone, not haunted by guilt, but hand in hand with Lyra, toward a future that stretched as endlessly as the stars themselves. As the moons reflected in her shifting eyes, I realized something profound. The past had shaped us, yes, but it did not define us. What defined us now was choice, connection, and courage. And together, we were unstoppable.